I'm Lynn.
I'm Amanda.
And this is The Pursuit of Badassery, the podcast. We're cutting through the fluff and cracking open what it really takes to build a business and life that you actually want.
No gurus, no gatekeeping, just real talk, big action, and the badass energy you need to scale and slay.
Some episodes, it's just us.
And sometimes we bring on powerful guests with stories that'll hit home.
Either way, this is not about playing small.
It's about going all in.
Let's get after it. All right. Hey there. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to The Pursuit of Badassery, the podcast. Today we're joined with Louis Swart, a seasoned business coach for coaches and the founder of IronBrij, a human AI-powered virtual assistant company, helping entrepreneurs avoid burnout and build self-sustaining businesses. With over 35 years of experience building and selling companies, managing teams of more than 450 people, and training coaches around the world, Louis specializes in delegation, leadership, and scalable growth. He's also a published author and international speaker dedicated to helping business owners like you reclaim their time, profitability, and peace of mind. We know this conversation is going to be great. Welcome to the show, Louis.
Yes. Thank you so much. I got to say, I love the name and I love your podcast. The topics that you discover, that you chat about are so relevant. Lots of people are thinking about how we should do more and more and more. And you guys are like, let's scale it back and work out what's really important. So thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, Louis. Actually going through your social media and like, obviously the stuff that you submit, we're like, it's like copy paste, except for in a different area. So, we talk about this, a lot of the same topics, and you actually have created a platform and programs and different things to be able to help individuals do all of the things that we love. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this.
Okay, I'll tell you, I'll go back a couple of years. So I was 30, I just turned 30. I was sitting in a bank. I just sold a business for 5 million, and they had a big boardroom table like the one behind you, Amanda. Big boardroom table. The bankers were all there in their serious, suits and everything. And it was myself and my brother and my, sister-in-law, and we were sitting there and they were counting out the money. And they had they were putting the money in and it was going grrr, and then they put elastic band on it and put it in our briefcase. And I can tell you, incredible feeling, okay? Actually, getting the cash. I mean, you think it's like a mountain of cash, but it's just a little bit, okay? And I was thinking back to, businesses that I had before. And when I was 25, I had a business. I had 10 plumbers, and I went to sell the business because I'd started another business. And I went to the broker and I was like, man, I want to sell my business. And he said to me, Louis, who does the quality control? And I'm like, I do it. And who does the accounting? I do it. And I was really proud to say, oh, well, I do that. I do that. Who does the HR? I do that. Like, I do that. And he said to me, Louis, your business is worth nothing. Like, I've got to find another Louis who knows how to do plumbing and knows how to do HR and knows how to do accounts and all these things. He said, I'm not going to find that. And I can tell you that was devastating because, I got this sinking feeling in my stomach because you've built this. I mean, it's like you girls have built this beautiful podcast. And if somebody just told you your podcast was worth nothing, it's pretty devastating because it's almost like your baby. It's like your child. But fast forward, I'd learned all the tricks. I learned all the delegation tricks. I really focused a lot on delegating. How can I create systems so that I can make it quicker for people to actually be able to delegate? By the time I was 35 years later, we sold the business. The people that bought it within 2 weeks for the 5 million. And it was because every question they asked, we were like, when you find that person and they never take the responsibility for anything. Have you ever met one of those people? Who did it? Like, it was never them. The fingers point everywhere except to them. Mm-hmm. And literally I was like that in my business. So there was who does this, who does that, who does that. And so it was super easy for somebody to come in, an investor, and just say, well, I'm going to take over the money part of it because you've got people that manage everything else in the business. And so those skills really, really helped me. The last business that I built in Australia, we built to turning over 35 million with 450 staff. But we wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't delegate. You really got to learn how to delegate well. And I find that a lot of business owners, still have that child. When we were a child and our parents said to us, if you want something done right, you need to do it yourself. Yeah, that's what we've been taught. So we've been taught lots of things. We've been taught if you want to do something done right, do it yourself. We were also taught at school it's very bad to copy. Okay? And then we go into business, and actually, you've got to copy. You've got to work out what somebody else is doing, copy what they're doing, make a better version of it, and then get it out there. You're not going to go and start rediscovering the wheel from scratch. So a lot of our childhood stuff that we taught just isn't really, relevant anymore. And so I've spent a lot of time working on how do I help people to delegate better? How do I help people to actually get their message out there better? How do I help people to use staff in countries where, for example, the Philippines, if somebody earns, 150 or $200 a week in the Philippines, it's a good amount of money. They can actually live a really nice life. As opposed to Australia, you need to earn like 1,500 to have this sort of same standard as that. And so how can I help businesses in like Australia, America, UK, find them staff elsewhere and, be able to implement those stuff into them. And it comes with all the usual stuff, like the how do I let go control? That's a big one, eh? You know, I'm gonna let somebody go in my Facebook and answer people like, oh, I mean, they could just, they could do something, or I'm gonna give people my customers' names and they could take my customers. And so there's a whole lot of stuff around how do we let go of control, but then also there's how do we get the systems in place? What are those systems that we want to put in place? And so I've spent heaps of time working on that, really just getting the systems better and actually giving it off to humans. And then AI came along. And so for the last 2 years, I've been training AI, actually helping people to use AI better. But I realized that there's got to still be that human connection. Because if you go on Facebook, I literally was on Facebook this morning and it's like, if you want to create content, what you should do is just use these 4 programs. And you go, well, those 4 programs are going to cost you $80 a month. That's a part they don't tell you. They just go, just use these 4 programs and you'll be able to create a video. But most people don't think like, hang on, that's going to cost me. I'm going to have to sign up for 4 subscriptions to do that. Granted, there's some free stuff, but yeah. So I'm out there to try and help people. How can I help people to actually use AI, but not have to learn it all? You know? So, and one way is to actually just get virtual assistants to help you who actually already know how to use it.
I mean, we live in a world where things are so accessible, and AI has definitely changed the playing game. But I just want to reiterate what you said about learning that when you were building the business, because Amanda and I have started and sold businesses. And boy, I remember building the one that I sold for the most and really building it based on like having to stop being the center of attention, if you would, within the business. And I had employees and different things like that, but still like really fortifying the systems in order to be able to make it profitable, because people buy the systems, they buy the processes. And even in some aspects, I guess I had side hustles, but I was an appointment center for phones, essentially, back in the day with Blackberries and before iPhones and all of that. And I was courting McDonald's for a very long time because the corporate was out of there. And I'd have conversations with this guy. We built a friendship. I think he follows me on social media at this point. Like, it's been forever. But I can remember having conversations around like people, yeah, they're attracted to the McDonald's name, but when they buy the franchise, they're buying all of our processes, our connections, like that. And it always sat with me. And so I know we're kind of getting sidetracked, but essentially that's what you're helping people do. You're helping people scrape down to building the systems, using AI to leverage, but using a VA system, which we are VA lovers. We have a ton on our team and we understand the leverage and the strength in that. But I love it. It's three very simple aspects of the business, is just parts of the business. We can overcomplicate it, but it sounds like you're definitely making it where it's an easy transition to be able to do it in steps, to be able to grow that business, not only maybe to scale, but to potentially sell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it needs to be easy, I mean, the whole thing is that we're trying to make people's lives easier. So even, when I'm teaching people with delegation, sometimes people say to me, I don't have time to delegate. Like literally, if you're busy and you're working a 14-hour day, or, you need to delegate, But you're going to go, I don't have time to actually spend another hour or two a day learning how to delegate and showing somebody how to do it. And I've got a super simple trick for people. I just say to them, just work out what are the 5 and 10 minute tasks that you do every day, and then delegate those tasks. So work out, is there a 5 or 10 minute task that's super easy that you do? Delegate that task, and then that saves you 10 minutes a day, every day. And then tomorrow, take the 10 minutes that you saved and then delegate a 20-minute task. And then, and then the next day you've saved 20 minutes. And then as you're going along, so now you're saving time, which allows you to delegate more complex tasks. So there's going to be some that you're going to take like a bit more time to delegate, but you've actually saved that time because you start off with the real simple tasks.
Absolutely. I know you've trained coaches worldwide on delegation. I myself struggled with it for a really long time simply because of the control factor. But what do you think entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches are actually doing wrong when they say, I tried delegating and it didn't work? What do you think they're doing wrong?
There's a couple of things. So the first one is that we are taught that multitasking works. Okay. And I don't know if have you ever done this multitasking exercise? Okay. If you open, I'll do it with you, Amanda, if you're open to it. So what I want you to do is just go A to Z as quickly as you can, just the alphabet.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, and Z.
Awesome. Now I want you to do 1 to 26. That was really good. Really good. 1 to 26.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
Those were easy tasks, weren't they?
Yes.
They're really simple tasks. But now what we're going to do is I want you to actually multitask. So I want you to go A1, B2, C3.
I knew you were going to say that. Dang it. Okay. A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, F6. Oh my gosh, that's way harder. Okay, we get the point. Way harder.
Most people get to like G, the ones that I really, really want to prove a point, get to maybe J or K or something. But literally what's happened is you've taken a super easy task and you've taken a second super easy task, but now you're going into the A, B, C, and then you're going 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you go back to the other one, you got to go, okay, then it was D. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you got to go back to this number. And so multitasking doesn't work. But what a lot of us do is we go, you know what? It's quick. I'll just quickly do it myself. Yeah. I'll just quickly do that in Canva. I'll just quickly do that. I just need to quickly do this. I'll quickly do that. And we end up doing so many quickly do those things that we don't actually end up doing the right thing. Another cool tool that I've got for you is I have a 2,000-hour rule that I follow. Okay. So imagine if you were working for a boss. If you were working for a boss, you'd probably work about 40 hours a week. Yeah. It's about sort of standard 40 hours a week and maybe 50 weeks a year. Kind of, you'd have to have 2 weeks off for sick leave or holiday or something at least. So that gives you a figure of 2,000. Now that's the maximum amount of hours that you can work in a year. So 2,000 hours. Then if you take how much you'd like to earn, let's say we want to earn $200,000 a year. Okay. If we take $200,000 a year and we divide it by 2,000 hours, that gives us a figure of $100 per hour. So we now have a benchmark of $100 an hour. Now, if we're doing tasks that are worth $10 an hour, like we actually fixing our Canva and we, moving files and we're doing all this stuff that's worth $10 an hour, we cannot make $100 an hour because every hour that we do a $10 an hour task, the next hour we have to do, $100 task, plus we've got to do the $90 that we've missed on the hour that we just did. So now we have to do a $190 task. But if we have that benchmark figure, and what I would strongly suggest is everybody just get a post-it note. You just pretty much get a post-it note and go, how much do I want to earn? If you want to earn $100,000 this next year, that's $50 an hour. If you want to earn, $200,000, that's $100 an hour. Quite a simple calculation. And you write down, is this worth $100 an hour or whatever that figure is in your world? And you put it on your computer. And then when you're doing Canva at, 10 o'clock at night, I want you to look up that and go, would I actually pay somebody $100 an hour to do this? And inevitably the answer is, there's no way I'd pay somebody $100 an hour to do this, but that's what you're paying yourself. And so once you learn that, once you're able to fix that mindset and realize that your time is worth more and that what are those high value tasks? Like you should be appearing on, like a podcast like this to get your name out there, or you should be in meetings with clients, or you should be creating more, online courses, or creating some lead magnets, or, really working on who your avatar is, or those things that only you can do, or being in sales calls with clients, those things that only you can do. How do you get more of those, the high value things, and how do you let go of more of the low value? And then your figure has to go up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I love how you break it down. We break it down a lot like that as well. And one thing I do want to mention is you said about, spending the time in Canva, and you can't do it as well. And the thing is, and we get this pushback. And actually, I remember, maybe not in the same wording, but this pushback from Amanda. But, oh, I can do it, and I can do it even better. There is a compromise in that learning kind of cycle that you do as well, and delegation cycle, but it's like letting go of control. And I often say, and we actually both often say, I say it a lot to like potential clients or business associates when I'm helping broker like a connection or whatever. I'll never forget, I had one that was asking essentially a social media manager that I was helping get, broker. They asked the social media manager, like, how much time would you spend? How much this, how much that? And I asked them, are you more concerned about the amount of time or the results in which that they're giving you? Like, which one is more important? And so are you more focused on the process or the results? And I think that is really important also aspect, is that we can do it, and we could probably do it even better. But a couple of things there is that, one, we free up the time. So that way we can make our $100 or $200 or whatever that is, or use that time. I mean, it's important that if we have somebody else taking over the $10 tasks, that we're actually using that time to push or drive our business, right? And not sitting back eating bonbons and whatever else. But also, like, when we are delegating, not getting so fixated on the wrong things. Understand that there is a learning curve, and that's part of the process. But the more that we have our systems in place, and like our understanding that it's out of our head, and that was my big thing, because, especially as doers, like I had the math problem done without having to show my work. So really having to train myself to not just do the systems or write out the processes to potentially sell the business, but, having other people help me with that as well. So there's all these little nuances, but when you can get over that hump and really actually like allow yourself to work in the capacity at the level that you should be working, and allow your VAs or your AIs to do the work that can increase your profitability and increase your time worth value to be able to go out and do things, it's a game changer for your business. I mean, it is an absolute game changer for your business. Yeah.
Well, that's why Anthony Robbins says be focused on the outcome, not the activity. Mm-hmm. And I had a great mentor when I was younger. I spoke to the mentor, and I was like, I can't get anybody to do what I do. Okay. I mean, they're all idiots. I need them to do what I do. They don't have the same work ethic as me. They don't do it as good as me. And he said to me, Louis, do you think somebody could do 60% of what you do? And I mean, you'd have to be pretty egotistical to not think that somebody could do 60% of what you do. Like in Canva, could somebody do it 60%, as much as... And I was like, yep, they definitely could do it. I definitely could get somebody to do 60%. So he said, if you hire one person, you're now doing 160% of what you could do before.
It's compound.
And now you hire a second person, and now you're doing 220% of what you could do before. And that really made an impact on me, because up until that point, I went, oh, Amanda's working for me. Like, why won't she work? I'm work till 8 o'clock at night. Why is she not working till 8 o'clock at night? And like, I devoted my whole life to growing this business. Like, why is she not devoting her life to it? And we literally have that. And we kind of think that the staff are almost on the same level as us. And they're not. We've got a big vision, and, we're the one with the vision, and they just kind of following along. They're following our vision, and sure, they buy into our vision, but one day we're going to sell it for, we're going to sell it, or one day we're going to leave a legacy with our name on it, or whatever that looks like. And that's not what they've got. They just along for the ride. So how do we compensate for that? Realizing that they're not going to work to all hours of the night, and they shouldn't have to work to all hours of the night. That's your dream, that's your vision, that's your, big picture thing. To me, that was a massive learning curve. But once I got that clear, it made a big difference in my life.
That's great. I just want to plant before Amanda asks a question, but there's a difference between being the owner and being an employee. And there are more employees than business owners. And at the end of the day, the employees are what help you get where you need to go. And I say employees lightly. It could be a contractor, it could be a VA, it could be a multitude of things, positions and aspects. But at the end of the day, there's a difference in the mindset, the drive. And so when you, as an owner, expect your employees to have that same, it doesn't mean that there shouldn't be expectations, but it's not the same. They don't have the same investment. They don't have the same, and that's okay. But if they buy into the vision, if they believe in the purpose, if they believe in all of that, that's what makes it a value. And a lot of people get that wrong. They expect them to believe in the whole thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I just had a client recently, I think last week, talking about that, because it was this whole, why don't they, I would never do it that way, and I would always be more loyal, and I would always help, and why won't my team do this? And I'm like, well, they're not you. They're not invested in the business the way you are. They don't own the business. Oh yeah, but I'm not asking them to stay till midnight, just to like 10. I'm like, they don't own the business. They have no reason to. So, when we're talking about delegation, we had a long conversation about this. How do you know, or how do you explain to people that they have a difference between a delegation problem versus a leadership problem? Because they sometimes overlap. So how do you know if you have a delegation problem versus a leadership problem?
I think that there's a third one in there. There's a mindset as well. So, we have, I'm not good at delegating, but is that potentially because we have such a firm belief that, if I want it done right, I've got to do it myself? Okay. Are we using delegation as a scapegoat? And if we have a belief that delegation doesn't work, I can give you the most amazing person and it's not going to work, because, we know the cycle. We know that we have a belief, and then we look for stuff that's going to confirm that belief. And then once we confirm that belief, it strengthens the belief, and we literally just go around in the cycle, making that belief stronger. And that belief's been with a lot of us, that belief's been there our whole lives. And so this is just one more thing. If we believe we can't rely on other people, this is just going to be another person we can't rely on. It's going to be, so how do we fix that mindset side of it? And then the leadership side, there's so many different leader styles, some people go out there and they're really forceful as a leader. And, you go all the way from the people who are out there and they're like, you better do this, otherwise you're going to get fired. And I had a client, she went through like 9 VAs in the space of like 3 months, and I eventually just said, look, I can't supply you any more people. You're just like a nasty piece of work, hey. But she had a business, you know what I mean? She had a business, and she just churned through stuff like there was no tomorrow. But that was her style, okay? And like, if you looked at her from the outside, she was a leader. She ran a business that turned over 5 million. And then you go all the way to the servant leader, where that's kind of the area that I like to kind of play in, where I look at my staff and I go, well, how can I help you? What do you need? What can I give you that'll help you to do your job better? And so in all of those, there is delegation, but there's different levels of how people are delegating. So if in the servant leader, you're literally delegating and you're working at how you can assist them. And so your delegation approach is very gentle, okay? And you're really about growing, ideally as a leader. My biggest accomplishment as a leader, I think, is the fact that I've grown thousands of other leaders. That's kind of an accomplishment, because, when you've taken somebody and then you've kind of put them through the system, and then they actually end up like managing, running a business or managing another business, or, whatever. That's such an accomplishment. That feels so amazing to me, and that kind of delegation is scary for a lot of people. Because if I delegate to you, Lynn, and I really get you to understand exactly, the job to the point where you don't need me, you could just go off and do the job and leave me high and dry, right? And that's a fear that a lot of us have. So if I delegate to AI could just take my job and then I'd have nothing, you know? We have to think about that as well when it comes to delegation. People have got to be comfortable that if they get a better system in place, which actually allows them to streamline their business, that they're still going to have a job, because that's a big thing. That's a big thing where we worry about. And now with AI, so many people are losing their jobs. People are losing their jobs to basic AI tools, and the AI is doubles every 3.5 months, according to some of the experts. Every 3.5 months, it actually doubles in power. So in a year, it doubles 8 times. In 2 years, it doubles 100. It's going to be 128 times better than what it is today. And in 5 years, it's going to be 1,000,000 times better, just because it doubles every 3.5 months. And we're going to have to learn to delegate. All of us. It doesn't matter what we do. At some point, we're going to have to learn how to delegate and how to be comfortable with that delegation, and understanding that when we delegate, we now have somebody to help us and not to actually take over from us. But if we don't delegate, somebody else who's delegating is going to guaranteed take over from you. It's that whole thing. Hey, AI is not going to take your job. Somebody using AI is going to take your job. So, yeah.
Yeah. How do you work with clients, or what do you say to them because there still is, I still hear it. There still is a lot of fear in using AI. We've been using AI for the last 2 years that it came out. And you just said like AI is going to take the job, etc. How do you work with individuals to show them that it can actually be complementary and excel your business versus take things away? How do you walk people through that?
Great question. The godfather of AI is afraid of AI. Elon Musk and all these guys they've all signed things. They are worried about AI. The whole world is worried about AI. So if you're worried about it, it's not necessarily a bad thing. The rest of the world's also worried about it. I think that we need to think about it like a tool. When the internet came out, when I was at school, calculators. Okay, we didn't have calculators initially at school. And then when calculators came out, there was a big hoo-ha amongst all the parents, because like, how can the kids have calculators? How can they take a calculator to school? This is ridiculous. Nobody's going to be able to add up. And I mean, I'm not sure that they can add up all that well now, but like nobody's going to be able to add up. You're never going to just have a calculator in your pocket all the time. This is going to kill your brain, and the next generation is going to be absolutely obliterated. That was me. The next generation is going to be obliterated. We're going to be, not able to think for ourselves. And then we got calculators, and you know what? We're all just carried on doing our thing. And then, computers came out, and then I remember my dad saying, why would anybody sit in front of a screen for, 8 hours a day? That's ridiculous. Go out and play in the garden type thing. Now I sit in front of a computer 8 hours a day, and it was going to kill my brain. And, it probably has done some of that. But, it's we're all scared of technology. And I use the example, imagine in the monastery, okay? It's the monastery, and there's the priest there, and he's writing out the Bible, and he's got his feather and his quill, and he's writing out the Bible, and at the end of it takes a whole, like maybe 2 or 3 days, and he's written a page, and he puts it down lovingly there. And then this guy Gutenberg comes along, and he goes, hey, let me show you how to do this. And he goes, click, 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 and he goes, there's 10 pages. Okay. You can imagine those priests going, oh, that's like the devil's work. That's terrible. You can imagine all the complaints that they had about this guy doing up 10 pages. There's no care, there's no love. Like, it's got to be like a work of God, whatever those were. But if we didn't use that, we wouldn't have all had access to Bibles all over the world. Okay, or for that matter, any books all over the world. Yeah, we would have only still been in the hands of the royalty. And so lots of us are scared of technology. We're scared of technology, but if we think of it as a tool, so what is it that you're doing? If we were super fortunate in that we're in a generation where we've actually had to use our imagination. We've all had to use our imagination. We've had to learn tools without AI. So now AI is coming in, and AI will just allow us to amplify all the creativity and the knowledge that we've had before. So we've got all this amazing knowledge, and now we can just amplify it with AI. So things like Mother's Day is coming up. Is it going to be Mother's Day in America?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a great idea for Mother's Day. I'll tell you a super great free idea for Mother's Day. You literally go on ChatGPT and you say, hey, I want to write some lyrics for a song for my mum. Okay. I love the way that my mum makes banana bread. I love the smell coming through the house when she makes banana bread on a Sunday. I love the way she looked after me as a child. I love this. I love this. I love this. You put all that stuff in, and bang, ChatGPT is going to write you the lyrics of a song. Okay. But specifically about you, about your mum and your relationship. That's what the lyrics are going to be. And then you put them into something like Suno. So that ChatGPT is free on your phone, and you can do it now. You just take out your phone, go ChatGPT, and you can even talk to it, just tell it the things. And then you go to Suno and you actually say, please create me a song, and you paste the lyrics from ChatGPT into there. And now you've got a song dedicated to your mum that has got the exact lyrics and tells all about you as a child. What a beautiful gift that would be to give to somebody. What an incredible gift to give to like a